Why are you doing it, Kari? I mean, it's going to be certified. It's over. The votes have been counted. I mean, there's no turning back.
Welcome back to Square Off. That was former Republican Governor Jan Brewer, also a former Secretary of State, advising Kari Lake to knock it off. Probably advice Lake won't take. She's expected to challenge the results of her election defeat as soon as this week, once Secretary of State and Governor-elect Katie Hobbs certifies the results. That's scheduled for Monday. Under state law, candidates have 5 days to contest the election after that. We're back with our political insiders, Stacey Pearson of Lumen Strategies and Marcus Dell'Artino of First Strategic Public Affairs. Marcus, how long till this election finally ends?
Oh, it's never ending. I mean, we're still talking about 2020, so, we're just in 2022. No, I'm teasing a little bit. I think in January, once everybody is inaugurated into office, then it'll start to die down a little bit. But also, to that point, the legislature's going to be taking up a lot of election bills.
Yeah, but we are going to keep reporting on it. Kari Lake and Abe Hamadeh expected to file election contests in court this coming week. 3 races will go to an automatic recount after Monday, including Chris May's 510-vote lead over Abe Hamadeh. And I have to point out that for these automatic recounts, every county, all 15 counties, are going to have to fire up their election counting, ballot counting machines once again, including Cochise County. And I want to say this slowly. It took an unprecedented court order at the last possible minute to force the Cochise County Board to certify its elections. Stacey, should we expect the same kind of shenanigans, nonsense from Cochise again?
I think the judge signaled that he was extraordinarily upset with the way they had conducted themselves following the election and their refusal to follow state law. I mean, certainly I would love if the speed limit didn't apply to me, for example, but it does, because that's how the laws work in a civilized society. And so I think ideally Cochise County will get it together and end the theater of the absurd.
They do have to do it again. It sounded like there are possible contempt sightings in the works.
My first takeaway from that judge was that he was all business, very businesslike, but stern. And you'll remember what was somewhat laughable is the Cochise County Board couldn't find an attorney. They had plenty of time to find an attorney, but couldn't find an attorney. So most people thought they were going to ask for a continuance, which they did, and that judge had no business dealing with that. He just said, I'm not doing a continuance. This gets solved today.
That hearing almost became my cousin Vinny.
Yeah,
very close.
Let's move to Governor Hobbs. Katie Hobbs will become governor. Inaugurations on January 5th, swearing-ins January 2nd. Given your deep knowledge of how the Capitol works, what are the challenges the first Democratic governor in 15 years faces in setting up an actual governing administration?
Well, I've said this before, and certainly during the campaign, but I think the #1 issue is water. And there's a shocking story out of the Washington Post this morning about Colorado River and the water, and I think that's going to be the first challenge. So you've got to secure those posts that have anything to do with water to figure out going forward. The rest of it, I expect to fall into shape kind of as time goes on. We're not going to clear out 38 directors overnight, but it will be a longer-term plan to make that transition.
Even though there haven't been many Democrats in those kinds of jobs in 15 years. That must be a tough, help wanted ad.
It has been interesting to see the folks that are coming out, but the truth is there is a large portion of Arizona's population that just wants to see the state run well. Regardless of political affiliation, if they're independents, if they're Republicans, they want Department of Transportation to function, they want DPS to work well, they want tourism to continue, and so I think we're going to get really qualified professionals in there regardless of party.
How likely is it she gets off to a rocky start just on the administration side?
Oh, the folks she has working on that transition team are the best in the business. I think it's unlikely.
Marcus?
Yeah, I think it will be a slow roll. We're not going to pop 38 directors all in one day. And that goes to, a benefit of administration. I think a smooth rollout will get the wrinkles out easily.
All right. Stacey Pearson, Marcus Dell'Artino, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And that's our show for this week. Thanks very much to all of our guests. Thank you so much for joining us. See you back here next weekend for another round of Sunday Square Off.